Hello my friends, in this lecture we are going to discuss an example of compression member of steel structure. So let's start the example 1 of compression member. Determine the load bearing capacity of column section as shown in the figure if its actual length is 4.5 meter. Its one end may be assumed fixed and the other end hinged. The grade of steel is Fe415. The given column section in the question is a built up column section. Why built up? Because here this is one I section which is ISMB 400. Along with the I section, two plates having dimension 300 mm into 20 mm are used both at top and bottom. So this is a composite section of a I section and plates. Okay, that's why it is a built up section. So let's start the solution part. So in the question, this is the I section given which is ISMB 400. So for ISMB 400, we have to note down the properties from steel table. If you see the roll steel beams for ISMB 400, the height is 400 mm. This is the height or depth of the section H. Next, with the flange. So here I have denoted it by BF and sometimes it is called breadth of flange. For ISMB 400 it is 140 mm. Similarly, thickness of flange TF, it is 16 mm. Then cross sectional area, it is 78.46 centimeter square. So if I convert to mm, it will be 7846 mm square. Next, IZZ, it is also given in centimeter, but I have written in mm to the power 4. So that's why I have multiplied the given value of IZZ with 10 to the power 4. The same thing is valid for IYY. The given value is multiplied by 10 to the power 4 to convert centimeter to mm. Next, the given column section is a built up section which is I have already discussed. So therefore it belongs to buckling class C. So all of us know that the column normally fails due to buckling. So from IS 800 2007, from table 10, which gives the buckling class of cross sections. So in the table 10, the buckling class of different cross sections are given, but from that table I have shown only a small part. For built up member, the buckling class is C. We have to find out sectional properties. IZZ. IZZ means it is the moment of inertia of the whole section about ZZ axis. So I have to calculate IZZ. If I take the moment of inertia of the I section as a whole, it is noted down from the steel table which is 20458.4 into 10 power 4. So for I section I have directly written, and it will be sum up with the moment of inertia for the plates at top and bottom. So for the plates, if you see the top plate, it will be the centroidal axis of the plate. So its moment of inertia will be 300 into 20 cube by 12. This is the moment of inertia of the plate about its own axis, which is parallel to ZZ. So if I have to calculate the moment of inertia of the plate about the centroidal ZZ axis for a whole cross section, so I have to follow parallel axis theorem. So I have to sum up A into R square term. What is the area of the plate? 300 into 20. R is the distance between the own centroidal axis of this plate from ZZ, this distance. Okay, so this distance will be how much? It will be 200 plus 10. 200 means from the center up to the extreme face of the I section, it is 200, means 400 by 2 plus 10 mm more up to the centroidal axis of the plate. So it will be 210. So A is 300 into 20, R is 210 square. Okay, so this is for one plate. So if I multiply with 2, this is the moment of inertia of both top and bottom plates about the centroidal ZZ axis of the whole cross section. So I have written here, which is sum up with IZZ of the I section. So finally we shall get the value of IZZ is 734,184,000 mm to the power 4. Then I have to calculate the moment of inertia of the whole cross section about YY. So first of all I have written IYY for the I section, which is already I have noted down here, and it is sum up with IYY for the plate. So this is the YY axis. So if I calculate IYY for the plate, it will be, if I consider the top plate, it will be 20 into 300 cube by 12. Here no need to use the parallel axis theorem, as the YY axis of the plate and the YY axis of the whole cross section placed at the same position. So this is the IY for top plate. If I multiply it by 2, then I will get the IYY for both the plates. So finally the total moment of inertia of the whole cross section about YY will be 96,221,000 mm to the power 4. So therefore we have seen here that moment of inertia about YY axis is less than moment of inertia of the ZZ axis for the whole cross section. Therefore buckling about the YY axis govern the design. So cross sectional area for the I section is 7846. Then at both top and bottom I have used the plates having dimension 300 mm into 20 mm. So I have multiplied this by 2 to get the cross sectional area for both top and bottom plates, and finally the total cross sectional area will be 19846. As the buckling about YY axis govern the design, so radius of gyration for the whole cross section will be be the radius of gyration about the yy axis, which is equal to root over of Iyy by a. So Iyy already calculated 96221,000, and area of cross section for the whole column is 19846. So radius of gyration for the cross section is calculated as 69.63 mm. Next, come to effective length. If you see the question, the two end conditions are given. For one end, the column is fixed, and the other end, the column is hinged. So if you see the drawings, it will roughly like this: one end fixed and the other end of the column is hinged. Okay. To calculate the effective length, I have to follow the table number 11 of IS 800/2007. This is also a large table, but from the table I have shown only a small part. So here one end is fixed, this end is fixed, and the other end is hinged, and effective length is 0.8 L. So effective length in this case will be 0.8 L, means the value of K is 0.8. So it will be comes out as 3600 mm. So if I calculate the slenderness ratio KL by R, and sometimes remember it is denoted by lambda. So KL is 3600, radius of gyration is 69.63. So lambda or slenderness ratio is calculated as 51.70. Now, referring to table 9C of IS 800/2007, for KL by R equal 51.70. See, in IS code IS 800/2007, for different buckling class they have given different compression stress table. In this case our buckling class is C, so that's why you have to follow table number 9C, whereas in 9C design compressive stress for column buckling for class C is given. So if I see the table for slenderness ratio KL by R, for 50 the value is 183. For slenderness ratio 50 the value is 183. See here in the top row different yield stresses are given, and the steel we are using for the design has the yield stress 250. So you have to follow this column. For 50 the design compressive stress for yield stress 250 is 183. Similarly for slenderness ratio 60 design compressive stress is 168. In our case the slenderness ratio is 51.7. That is why we have interpolated the values in between 183 and 168. So if I interpolate between 168 and 183, it will be for 50 it is 183, and gradually it is decreasing when we are moving from top to bottom. So 183 minus 183 minus 168, and their interval is 10. It is multiplied by difference between 51.7 and 50, it is 1.7. So it is multiplied by 1.7, and finally it is comes out as 180.45. So for slenderness ratio 51.7, design compressive stress is 180.45 Newton per mm square. For yield stress 250. Now we have to calculate the design load carried by the column, which is denoted by PD. It is calculated multiplying the area with the design compressive stress FCD. What is the total area of cross section? It is calculated here. It is 19846 mm square. And then FCD is already calculated 180.45. So design load carried by the column will be 3581210 Newton or 3581.21 kilonewton. So if I calculate the actual load carrying capacity or the working load carried by the column, so I have to divide the total design load carried by the column by 1.5, which is partial safety factor. For limit state method, and this factor is used for load or force. It is taken as 1.5. Partial safety factor for different materials are used as different, and for loads or force it is used as 1.5 in limit state method. So you have to remember. So finally the load carried by the column or the load carrying capacity of the column is calculated as 2387.474 kilonewton. So this is the required value as per the questions. So this is all about the discussion of today's class. So if you have any doubt, you can ask me in the comment section or you can mail me too. So if you have liked my video, please share with your friends. Also subscribe my channel. Thank you.